What if I told you that the Apostle John was thrown into a vat of boiling oil and survived without a single burn? This extraordinary event defied all logic and left even his executioners in shock. In this video, we'll uncover the miraculous story of John's survival, the deeper meaning behind it, and how this moment shaped his destiny as the last living apostle. John's survival wasn't just a physical miracle. It was a powerful testament to God's divine protection and purpose. As we explore this incredible event, you'll discover how faith can sustain you in the face of trials, how God's plans always prevail, and why John's life still holds profound lessons for us today. This is a story of endurance, faith, and the unstoppable power of God. If you're ready to dive into this unbelievable story, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. By doing so, you'll help share this message of faith and miracles with others who need it. Now, let's explore the astonishing survival of the Apostle John. The Apostle John was one of the most important figures in the early Christian church. He was one of the 12 disciples chosen by Jesus and was often referred to as the disciple whom Jesus loved. John had a special bond with Jesus, being one of the few who witnessed key moments such as the Transfiguration and the Crucifixion. After Jesus' death and resurrection, John played a significant role in spreading the teachings of Christ, particularly through his writings. He authored the Gospel of John, 3 epistles, and the Book of Revelation, all of which have deeply influenced Christian theology. John's relationship with Jesus was unique in that he was often seen as a close confidant, alongside Peter and James. He was present during many of Jesus' most important moments, such as the Last Supper, and was the one to whom Jesus entrusted the care of his mother, Mary, while on the cross. This deep trust is reflected in the way John described his relationship with Jesus in his writings. He not only walked alongside Jesus during his ministry but also witnessed the events that changed the course of history: his death, resurrection, and ascension. In the years following Jesus' ascension, the early Christian church faced intense persecution, especially under the Roman Empire. Christianity was considered a threat to the established order, and many Christians were punished for their faith. The Emperor Domitian, who ruled Rome from 81 to 96 AD, was particularly notorious for his persecution of Christians. He demanded to be worshipped as a god and saw the rise of Christianity as a challenge to his authority. As a result, many believers were executed, and others were forced into exile or hiding. During this time of oppression, John continued his mission to spread the gospel. His unwavering faith and leadership made him a prime target for Roman authorities. Eventually, he was arrested for his role in preaching Christianity, and the Roman authorities decided to punish him in a brutal manner to serve as an example to others. The sentence was to be executed by throwing him into a cauldron of boiling oil, a form of torture meant to end his life in a horrific manner. However, something extraordinary happened when John was cast into the boiling oil. According to early Christian writings, he miraculously survived without harm. His survival was seen as a divine intervention, a sign that God was protecting him for a greater purpose. This event stunned the witnesses and greatly impacted the early Christian community. It was not only a testament to John's unwavering faith but also a powerful demonstration of God's power to protect his followers, even in the most dangerous situations. John's survival from the boiling oil was not the end of his story, but rather a pivotal moment that demonstrated the resilience of faith in the face of persecution. After this miraculous event, John was exiled to the island of Patmos, where he would go on to receive the visions that became the Book of Revelation. This book is filled with prophecies and messages of hope for Christians enduring suffering, making John's life and experiences even more significant to the church. His story serves as a powerful reminder of the strength that faith can give, even when all odds are stacked against it. The moment of John's sentencing was filled with tension and fear. The Roman authorities, under Emperor Domitian's reign, were determined to punish the Christians who refused to worship the emperor as a god. John, as a prominent leader in the early church, was seen as a threat to the empire. The decision was made to execute him in a gruesome and public way, to intimidate others and show the power of Rome. The chosen method was to throw John into a large cauldron of boiling oil, a punishment meant to bring about a painful and certain death. As the crowds gathered, the atmosphere was heavy with anticipation and dread. The moment John was cast into the cauldron, something miraculous happened. As the oil bubbled and hissed, expecting to consume him instantly, John did not perish. Instead of the flames and boiling liquid destroying him, he stood unharmed in the middle of it all. Witnesses to this event were in shock, unable to explain how such a thing could happen. Against all odds, John remained unscathed, his faith and life preserved by what many believed was the direct intervention of God. The Roman authorities, stunned by this unexplainable survival, were left bewildered. John's survival was seen as nothing short of a miracle. It wasn't just a fortunate accident, it was a sign of divine protection. God, in his infinite power, had spared John's life for a greater purpose. His miraculous survival became a powerful testament to the Christian faith, showing that God could protect his followers in even the most impossible situations. The people who witnessed this event began to see John not only as a faithful apostle, but also as a living proof of the power of God. It strengthened the belief of many and turned the intended execution into a powerful moment of faith. The news of John's survival spread like wildfire among the Christian community and beyond. For those who followed Jesus, it became a sign of hope. If John could survive such a brutal punishment, it meant that no matter how harsh the persecution, God would protect and sustain his followers. Many believed that this miracle was God's way of showing his approval of John's work and confirming that his mission was far from over. It also demonstrated the strength and resilience of the early Christians, who were enduring intense persecution for their faith. The miraculous event had a profound impact on the spread of Christianity. As word of John's survival spread, many people began to take notice of his story and the God he served. It became a powerful tool for evangelism, as John's life now served as a testimony to the truth of the Christian message. People saw that even in the face of death, God's power could not be defeated. This story would inspire countless believers, giving them the courage to continue sharing the gospel, even in the most hostile environments. John's survival in the boiling oil was not just a personal victory. It was a victory for the Christian faith as a whole. It reinforced the belief that God was with his people, even in their darkest moments. For those who witnessed it, John's survival marked a turning point. What was meant to be his end turned into a powerful witness, drawing many to faith and strengthening the resolve of the early Christians to continue spreading the message of hope and salvation through Jesus Christ. The miraculous survival of the Apostle John in the boiling oil demonstrates the incredible power of God in moments of extreme adversity. Throughout history, God has shown his ability to intervene in situations where all hope seems lost. For John, facing certain death, God's divine protection was a clear reminder that, even in our most challenging moments, God is present. This event highlights how God can show his strength when we feel weak and helpless, assuring believers that he is always with them, no matter the trials they face. John's survival also teaches us that God's protection is not limited by human expectations or natural laws. In a world where we often see suffering and hardship, this miracle stands as a reminder that God's power surpasses all earthly understanding. He is not bound by what seems possible to us. This is an important message for believers. No matter how impossible a situation may seem, God is capable of miracles. His intervention is not constrained by our limitations, and he can provide a way even when there seems to be no way. For early Christians, John's survival was not only a miraculous event, it was a confirmation of their faith. It showed them that God had not abandoned his followers, even in the face of cruel persecution. John's experience became a symbol of the unwavering strength that comes from God, reinforcing the belief that faith could withstand any trial. It was a living example of how God strengthens his people when they face challenges that appear insurmountable. This gave early Christians hope that, even if they too were put to the test, they could trust that God would be with them. John's story teaches important lessons about faith and resilience. First, it shows that true faith is not shaken by adversity. Despite being sentenced to a horrific death, John did not waver in his belief. His trust in God remained strong, knowing that even if he were to die, God would be with him. This unshakable faith in the face of suffering is something that every believer can learn from. It reminds us that faith is not just for the good times but is most powerful when we face trials. Another lesson we can draw from John's survival is the importance of resistance and perseverance. Even though the Romans tried to silence him through violence and torture, John continued to proclaim his faith in God. This persistence in the face of opposition is something that all Christians can aspire to. No matter what challenges we face in our own lives, we are reminded by John's example that resistance and perseverance in faith will lead to victory. His story encourages believers to keep pressing forward, knowing that God is with them every step of the way. Ultimately, the significance of John's survival goes beyond just the physical miracle. It is a profound reminder of God's sovereignty over life and death, and his ability to work miracles in even the most extreme circumstances. For us, this story encourages a deeper trust in God's power to protect and guide us. It teaches that no matter how difficult our struggles may be, God's presence and strength can carry us through, and we are never truly alone when we walk in faith. The miracle of the Apostle John's survival in boiling oil had a profound impact on the early Christian community and the history of Christianity. What was meant to be his death turned into a powerful testimony of God's protection and power. John's miraculous survival not only strengthened the faith of Christians at the time, but also served as an enduring example of God's ability to intervene in the most impossible situations. This event became a turning point, showing that no matter how fierce the persecution, God's presence and power could not be defeated. This miracle reminded Christians that their faith was not in vain, even when faced with extreme trials. It also demonstrated that God could provide protection in ways that defy human understanding. For early believers, seeing John survive such a horrific punishment confirmed their belief in the power of God to protect and preserve his people, no matter what they faced. John's story became a beacon of hope, not just for those who witnessed it, but for generations to come. The impact of John's survival went beyond the immediate. It sparked a renewed passion for spreading the gospel and an unshakable trust in God's ability to keep his promises. It reminded Christians that their mission was bigger than any earthly power, and God's will would always prevail in the end. John's life, marked by his unwavering faith and miraculous survival, inspired countless others to stand firm in their beliefs, even when the world seemed set on crushing them. As we reflect on John's miraculous experience, we are invited to examine our own faith. How do we respond when faced with difficulties or trials in our lives? Do we trust that God is with us, just as he was with John? It's important to remember that God is not distant. He is present in our struggles, ready to intervene in ways we may not even understand. John's story challenges us to strengthen our own faith and to trust that, even in our darkest moments, God's light will guide us through. Think about the challenges you're facing right now. Are there moments when you feel overwhelmed or unsure? Let John's story encourage you to hold on to faith, knowing that you are not alone. God has the power to turn any situation around, just as he did for John. In times of uncertainty, we can trust that God's protection and guidance are always available to us. The miracle of John's survival is a powerful reminder that our faith can move mountains, even in the toughest circumstances. If you were moved by John's incredible story of survival, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. By doing so, you can be part of this journey of faith, and continue to discover more powerful stories that inspire and challenge us to live out our faith with boldness and trust in God. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to sharing more stories with you soon.